Otra vez la pregunta, ¿quién de que usa la aplicación Waze? Agradezcanle, apláudanle, por favor.
Gracias.
No solamente es cofundador de Waze, sino también de Google, que adquirió, por supuesto, esto por más de $1.1 mil millones. Después de Waze cofundó FeeX y actualmente desempeña el cargo de presidente de esa empresa. También es cofundador y miembro de junta de la mitad de una docena de nuevas empresas como CDI, Romer, that sounds good, Fairly Fly, Movit, Engie, entre otras. Actualmente está trabajando en un par de nuevas empresas que siguen el mismo objetivo, la creación de una gran cantidad de valor para un amplio número de usuarios en el espacio de los consumidores. Sin más preámbulo, la cereza del pastel, Uri Levine. Welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me at the back? Okay. Thank you. I'm always excited to come to Mexico because there are so many Waze users here in Mexico that we essentially help to avoid traffic jams and police and essentially create, in general, save about 5 hours of traffic jams per person every month. And when you take into consideration that there are nearly 15 million Waze users here, then this is pretty significant. What I would like to do today is share with you the Waze story and how it works, which is kind of magic, and then taking you throughout the journey of Waze between 2007 when we started until 2013 when we got acquired, and then about me, what I'm doing after that, which is interesting by itself because I left Waze after the acquisition and I keep on building more startups that are very relevant to a lot of people. So the magic of Waze is that when we started, what you see here was the map of Tel Aviv, of Israel, when we started. Blank page. There was nothing on the map, absolutely nothing on the map. And when the first driver drove, we collected the GPS data from the device. And if we will take this data and draw that on this blank page, it would look like these lines, right? Now, if we are starting to take that from a lot of drivers, then we get something that's starting to look like a map, right? If I will tell you that this is a traffic circle there in the middle, it looks like a traffic circle, and it is a traffic circle. And you can even tell the difference between main road and a street or intersection that no one is making left turn, then you can figure out that no left turn is allowed. And in reality, if you are an engineer, if you are coming from the computer space, if you can imagine that and describe that, then we can build it. And so we built a system that takes all this GPS data from the devices and create a map out of that. And the map initially was incomplete, and in order to complete that, we actually needed to have also street names. And so we enabled map editing tools that allows people to provide us with street names and house numbers and points of interest to the level that the map becomes good enough. Now at this phase, if we will have someone that is driving slow, then we can figure out that there is a traffic jams, and we can figure out where the traffic jams are. And if we have a lot of users all over, then we can figure out where all the traffic jams are and actually route people to avoid them. And so this is the magic of Waze. And then on top of that, you can add additional information like accidents or speed traps or police and so forth. And what Waze is a red social de conductores para conductores. And this is important. We, the driver, help ourselves to avoid traffic jams. Now, does it really work? What we are seeing in the video is how the map was created in a few places in Eastern Europe. And by the way, this is how the map was created here in Puebla, and this is how the map was created in Mexico City, and this is how the map was created pretty much nearly everywhere. And we can see the date, beginning of 2010. This is where we launched this service. And it took about 6 months for the map to become good enough. Not in all the places, in small places. 6 months to become good enough. And when you are free and good enough, you do win the market. And this is what happened to us. So the Waze story, it started by one person, Ehud Shabtai, the CTO of Waze, that actually figured out in 2006 that he can build an app running on a PDA. PDA, long time ago, there were dinosaurs, and then PDA, and then Nokia phones, and this is where we are today. And it's quite scary to see, look at this. This is 2006 PDA. 2009, we launched on a Nokia phone, and there are no more PDAs, there are no more Nokia phones. And today, we all have iPhones and Android, and it's very possible that 10 years from now, there will be something completely different. So it started by Ehud, who figured out a way to actually build a system that creates the map as you drive. And only in 2007, we teamed up and we decided that we're going to build a startup out of that. And we're going to take that from the PDA, which is not connected, into the smartphone and figure out real-time traffic so we can actually help people to avoid traffic jams. And we started to explain to ourselves, this is exactly what we're going to do, and this is the kind of company we would like to have. And we decided that Waze is going to be the best working place we ever had. And we went fundraising, and nearly everyone told us it will never work, right? And so if you are an entrepreneur and you go to investors and they tell you it will never work, don't believe them. And what I would like to share with you is the original slides that we presented 10 years ago, or nearly 10 years ago, to the investors. And they were pretty simple. We built navigation, which essentially is mapping and traffic together, and we are doing that much faster, at a lower cost, and much up-to-date than anyone else. And the smartness is the automatic user-generated content. The fact that when you drive, you help the rest of the drivers because we know where you are and how fast you are driving. And based on that, we can figure out where all the traffic jams and help the rest of the drivers. Now, in 2008, we formally formed the company. We called that LinkMap at the beginning, and I don't think that you ever heard this name. And we raised capital to start the company, and we built the first version that's running on a mobile phone, and that was on a Nokia phone. And at the time, Nokia was the most popular smartphone in Israel and most popular smartphone in the world in general. And we started, right? And then in 2009, we launched the service initially in Israel, and after that, we went to the US and the rest of the world towards the end of the year. And we thought that it's working beautifully in Israel, then it should be working everywhere. But it didn't. It didn't because in 2010, what we have seen is that it's not good enough, right? And so if you think of a startup journey, then in general it will start with a lot of enthusiasm and some proof points that will tell you that you are on the right direction. And then there is a very, very long period of time of lack of traction. You try something and it doesn't work. You try something and it doesn't work. You try something else and it doesn't work. And you actually need to go through multiple iterations of the product in order to make it work. And the scary part is that you see that it doesn't work. You speak with users, and they tell you what's wrong. Or so the driver tells us what doesn't work for them, and then we go back to the engineering. We fix that. We release a new version that we know that this version is solving everything, and it's not. And we actually had to go through 1 year of iteration after iteration until we got it to the level of good enough. And then what happened when you're good enough, then all of a sudden you reach critical mass, and this makes the magic happen, right? And so it started in the US from Los Angeles first, and then San Francisco and Washington, D.C., and one metropolitan after the other. And in Europe, it was Italy first, and then France and Netherlands and Spain, and one country after the other. And here in Latin America, it was actually Colombia first, and then Chile, and then Costa Rica, and then Mexico, and then Brazil, and one country after the other. And we figured that out, sort of, nearly everywhere. Not everywhere there is Waze. There are a few places that Waze doesn't work, but in most cases it does work. There are nearly 300 million Waze users, and there are quite a lot here in Mexico and quite a lot in countries here. And in 2012, the magic actually happened. This is where Waze was actually growing faster than the entire navigation industry together. So if you think of navigation devices and in-car navigation systems and navigation application and all of them together, Waze was actually growing faster. In 2013, Waze was growing at about maybe 4 million new users every month, and Google came out with a proposal to acquire us, and we said yes. When I was young, my dad once told me that if someone is making you an offer that you cannot refuse, then you do not refuse. And that was the offer. We thought that the offer is right, and we said yes. And I left in order to start a new startup, and I'll share that with you in a second. But if you are an entrepreneur, this slide is maybe the most important slide in your lifetime. This is the summary of all of my mistakes. Right? So understanding who the users are and what's their perception of the problem. In many cases, we think that, okay, I have this problem, so therefore I understand the problem. But we only understand a perspective of one person. We actually do need to speak with other people in order to understand their perception, and only then we can go and build a solution for that. Making mistakes fast. Guys, this is critical, right? So we have the tendency to think that, okay, we need to build something that is perfect. And so therefore, we need to keep on evolving that in the lab until it's ready. But in reality, we don't learn anything new in the lab. And what we really need to do is get out as soon as possible. So good enough, the biggest enemy of good enough, is perfect. And if you want, let me demonstrate that with this story. So these two guys want to go on a safari in Africa. So they are going in the safari, and they sleep in the camp with everyone else. And after a couple of nights, they say, let's do something different. Let's sleep outside the camp in a tent. And so they spend the night there, and in the middle of the night, they hear a roar of a lion. And so they woke up, and this is pretty scary, and one guy says, let's do something, let's run. And so the other guy says, yeah, this is a good idea. And he's starting to put his sneakers on. And so the first guy tells him, are you nuts? You really think you're going to outrun the lion? Say, no, I just need to outrun you. So this is about being good enough, right? The DNA of the company, and the mission that you have, if you are trying to build a better world, this is going to be significant. This is going to be huge. You know that you are on the right path. You know that even if you fail, you'll go into this path again because you're going to make a better world. And if this is your mission, very likely that you will sustain and you will go through all the hardship of the journey. Fall in love with the problem, not the solution. As long as you keep your eyes on the problem and keep on understanding the problem and the perceptions of the users, then you are most likely building the right solution. The day that you start to fall in love with your own solution, then you're starting to miss the problem. And focus. You know, my t-shirt says, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And this is very, very hard because there are so many distractions that can tell you, you know what, you should do that, you should do that, you can do this, and we can even pay you for that. No. You have a mission. You have a problem that you're trying to solve in order to make the world a better place. Go and do that. So a few words about myself. There is even a thinner version of me there. And so I'm an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur. I start a lot of startups, and I focus on creating a lot of value to a lot of people. And let me share with you my startups. So Waze, we're all familiar with. Move It is like Waze, but for public transportation. Actually answering the same question that Waze does. How do I get from here to wherever I want to go right now, but using public transportation? Actually, it's even growing faster than Waze at the time. FeeX deals with the biggest secret in the world, financial fees. There are $600 billion of financial fees every year in the US, and people don't even know that they're paying them. And when I was young, my dad once told me that if you don't know how much you're paying, then you're paying too much. And this is exactly what we're trying to do. Now, if you think that 1% a year is not bad, if you think of your retirement plan, that the accumulation year after year, this is going to end up as 1/3 of your lifetime saving. And you definitely want to do something about that. Rumor is a marketplace for non-refundable hotel reservation. So just imagine a situation that you get stuck with reservation that you cannot use. Simply sell that reservation to someone else. Zik is another marketplace for store credit. So imagine a situation that you return something to the store and you get a store credit that you can only use within the store. And it turns out that 30% of those are never being used. So they expire, they disappear, something bad happened to them. Now these 30% is $100 billion a year, $100 billion a year of lost money that people are not using. Angie deals with the frustrations of going to the mechanic. If I will take my car to the mechanic, whatever they'll say, I'll say, okay, I'm helpless there. I don't even know what's underneath the hood, right? So if they will tell me that I need to replace the carburetor in my car, then I would say, go ahead and do that. Now, the only problem is that there is no carburetor in my car. And so what Angie does, it's an app running on the smartphones, connects to the car computer, doing the diagnostics for you, and telling you in a language that you can understand what's wrong, and then asking for mechanics to quote to repair that. So all of a sudden empowering the driver, not only So empowering the driver not only with the knowledge, but also with the ability to do price comparison, because today we can't do price comparison. Fairfly deals with the biggest secret in the travel industry, and this is what happened to airfare after we book our flight. Now we don't know because we never check that, like no one cares. So from our perspective, we compare prices before, we even monitor that over a period of time, and we will see the prices are going up and down. But then we make the reservation, and then what? Prices are keep on going up and down, but we don't do anything about it. So what Fairfly does, monitor your own itinerary, and if the price drops and drops below cancellation fees, then it basically tells you that right now you're leaving money on the table, and you can actually rebook the same flight, or rebook an alternative flight, and save some of the money that left on the table. So I see that my time is up, so I wouldn't have enough time to share with you what else is coming down the pipe. But I keep on building 2 or 3 new startups every year, and I hopefully will keep on doing that. They're creating a lot of value to a lot of people. So maybe one more story. And there is a huge reward of being the Waze founder, that there are so many people coming to you and saying thank you. And usually there is a story associated with that. So I heard a lot of stories about how I saved people from traffic jams and from police traps and so forth. But about a year ago, I heard an excellent story, and I would like to share that with you. And so the guy is coming to me and say, thank you. And I said, you're welcome. And they say, you saved my marriage. And I said, what? And I said, you saved my marriage. Because of Waze, we don't need to argue anymore. And so this relates to about a year ago, and it was the best story that I heard up until then. But then 6 months ago, I have 5 kids, and one of them is 18 years old, and he started to drive about a year ago. And 6 months ago, I asked him to drive me to the airport. And he said, my phone is broken, I can't. And I said, what? He said, my phone is broken, I don't know how to get there. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be in the car with you, and I'll tell you how to get there. And then he said, and how would I come back? So we kind of lose orientation, but not the logic. Thank you very much.